Good morning, everyone. This is Monday, April 13th, Read Aloud. It is titled Spreading Through the Continent. So this is our first read aloud of our new unit, Unit 8. And Unit 8 is titled Native Americans, Regions, and Cultures. So I hope that you guys are cozy at home, enjoying a snack. We're going to get started with our vocab, so turn your ears on. Ears on. Nomadic. Relating to people who move from place to place for various reasons, often in search of food. Prey. An animal that is hunted as food. Regions. Large spaces or geographic areas. Woolly mammoths. Large animals, now extinct, that roamed parts of North America and Asia and were hunted by the prehistoric people who migrated from Asia to North America. Okay, now that we did our vocab, let's jump right in. So, to introduce the read aloud, we're going to listen carefully to hear more about these 4 key points. Where the early settlers of North America came from, how it is believed that they got to this continent, how the Ice Age is related to their migration, and how they lived when they first arrived. And these pictures below are actually pictures of woolly mammoths, one of our vocabulary words. Okay. So I'm going to see if I can resize this a bit. Okay, you can see the pictures nicely. I want you to imagine a long, long time ago, so long ago that we cannot say for certain when. In this ancient time, people began to move from one place to another. These prehistoric people were nomadic hunters who traveled in groups. These prehistoric people began to move from the land we call Asia to the land we call North America. They did not plan to move from one land to another. They were simply following the herds of animals that they hunted for their own survival. It is not thought that various groups of people ventured on foot across a vast cold area between Asia and North America called Beringia, following herds of prehistoric animals. Historians think that the very beginning of this migration of ancient Asian people began during the last major ice age. It was during this ice age that the large area of Earth's water was frozen. At this time, northern regions of North America were covered in thick sheets of ice and giant glistening glaciers. As you heard earlier, because water had turned to ice during the Ice Age, sea levels had dropped and certain areas of land had become uncovered. Many scientists think Beringia was once one of these areas. As these prehistoric people moved across Beringia, they lived and hunted in this icy world. There they followed the hunted great herds of large animals such as woolly mammoths, mastodons, giant bisons or buffalo, saber-toothed cats, and giant ground sloths. These large mammals are known as big game. All of these animals were prey for the people who migrated or moved from Asia to North America. The Beringia migration is a widely held theory among historians, but this is almost certainly not the only way that people arrived in North America. It is also likely that people came to North America in boats, following the coastline in search of land and food, and then stayed because they discovered an abundance of new resources. The migration of people and animals did not happen all at one time, nor did these people come from only one place. People moved from across Asia into North America over a period of time. New slide. However, these are believed to be the very first people to inhabit North America. Eventually, as the climate began to warm, the ice-covered land began to thaw. It became possible to travel even farther than North America. Giant glaciers that had blocked native people's paths melted. People moved south through an area that opened up between two enormous glaciers. Scientists call this path between these glaciers the ice-free corridor. The corridor, or passage, was cold and wet, but habitable. And so, large numbers of native peoples continued to migrate or move in small groups just as before. They lived a nomadic life as they followed the herds of animals that they preyed upon. New slide. Move this a bit. In order to survive in this way, these native peoples had to be expert hunters. Although we do not know much about the people of human history, archaeologists have discovered a variety of spears, including leaf-shaped spears embedded in mammoths' bones, in addition to tools for scraping and carving bones. We can only imagine what life must have been like for these early peoples as they endeavored to survive in an ice-cold world by hunting creatures such as 9-foot-tall woolly mammoth. With nothing more than a spear and a stealth, they would have hunted a group to take down their prey. A woolly mammoth would have provided many pounds of meat, as well as fur, tusks, and bones. A band of hunters and their families would most likely have stayed with the carcass or dead body of the animal until the food supply ran out. In addition to food, the animals they hunted provided these native people with clothes. As the Earth's climate changed and it became warmer, the way these early people lived changed too. Gradually, many historic animals that had been hunted for their meat, fur, and bones disappeared from the world forever. Where they're hunted to extinction by people struggling to survive in a changing world? Or did climate change alter the delicate balance of the food chain to such an extent that these mammoths could no longer find the food they needed to live? We will never know for certain the answer to these questions. We do know that the saber-toothed tiger and the woolly mammoth no longer wander this land, whereas other ancient creatures, such as the buffalo, did survive. And here we have a picture of some buffalo. It appears that some animals were able to adapt to climate changes. The buffalo, for example, is thought to have become smaller and more swift over time. Once the ice was gone, new plants, grasses, and trees emerged, and various animals adapted to a new diet. Native peoples adapted too. New slide. And so eventually, over many years, people moved right across the vast expanse of land to various regions, to wide open grasslands of the Center Plains, to the northeastern and southeastern woodlands, swamplands, and coastal regions, and to the sun-drenched west coasts and dry southeastern deserts. Some people settled in the far north regions of the Arctic and subarctic. Some people moved even farther south into what we now call the continent of South America. Oops, a little too fast. Eventually, many ancient peoples chose to no longer live nomadic lives, but instead choose to settle in one place and establish permanent or semi-permanent settlements. They may have decided this because they discovered regions where the food supplies were plentiful in forms of animals to hunt and fish and plants to consume. One thing that is certain is that many native people began to farm. Though they had previously survived by foraging for wild plants in addition to hunting prey, native people began experimenting with planting and harvesting. And they eventually began to grow a variety of crops. Because of this, some people choose to stay in one place and that by their collective efforts increase their own food supply. Over time, approximately 500 North American native tribes came to inhabit a wide variety of regions across North America. These native peoples, whose total population peaked or reached its highest number at about 20 million, would live their lives according to their own customs or cultures for thousands of years until European culture brought extreme changes to their ways of life. So that's the end of our first read aloud. Your next job today for CKLA is to read chapter 1, and it will be attached in your assignment slides on Google Classroom. I hope you guys enjoy it. Happy Monday.